All right, Jeff, tell us about the upcoming Toy Drive event. What's it all about? How to get started?
So the Toy Drive, it's all about making sure that kids in the area, the Mohawk Valley, Utica area, we're working with ICAN, who has kind of a broad range where they can distribute. They're maybe not from Utica, but they're able to distribute in the Mohawk Valley all the way out to Amsterdam and a couple counties surrounding Utica. So I think to Rome, not anything that I don't think they go to Syracuse. So this came about because, usually I'm just booking metal shows, bringing metal and punk bands here, playing with locals. Sometimes locals aren't able to work out. So it's just a bunch of bands from the general New York area with maybe a touring band mixed in there. The Toy Drive came about because, it's the reason for the season. It's December. I wanted to do something. I was talking to Austin, who was on your show previously, what can we do? It's something that can benefit the community. People can come together. It makes people feel good. People want to give. And it's just the most simple answer. Instead of trying to do it every time, it's like, oh, Christmas is coming. Mm-hmm. Nothing better. The shows themselves came about from just kind of stagnation. There was nothing really going on. There's a couple shows here and there. A guy does some stuff out in Verona, which is pretty far away. There used to be stuff here in Ilion, but I lived in Ilion when I started doing it. But it's like the place where I was able to put them on was in Utica. Mm-hmm. Then by happenstance, I moved to Utica. So
where is the show?
The show's at the Uptown Theatre.
Yeah.
Nice.
This one specifically, it's on the 14th. We did have a band drop, but we have Inertia from Buffalo who's come out here a couple times. They really like the area.
They were at Metal at the Marina, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they were super stoked when I reached out to them about this. They're like, heck yeah, we can't wait to come back out. We have Fourth and Goal from Syracuse. They got a couple members from the Utica area, but they're Syracuse based just because that's where they practice and stuff. And then Darby Crash, who is from Utica proper. I don't know if everyone lives in Utica proper, but they say they're from Utica, so they're the local band. But the last time there was really regular stuff going on in this vein, it was around 2018. I wasn't too preoccupied with booking anything. I was just playing. I'm still playing in bands. I've been playing in bands since I was 15 or 16. So I've seen the ebb and flow, and it never really hit that point where there was nothing going on until, COVID happened. Mm-hmm. You couldn't really have stuff going on. So erring on the side of caution. But in 2023, my friend Tim, who is a board member at the Uptown, was like, hey, I want to get heavier bands here. Can you help? I was like, yeah, we'll see what we can do. So I just threw something together, really did them every couple months. Wasn't really like, okay, we got to do one next month and the month after that. It was like, we're going to see if people want this, if people are going to come out. So the first one was last July. The one after that was in October. Took a sabbatical, came back in January of this year, and then had a couple months off. The one I wanted to do in March fell through because it happened to be the same day as the St. Patrick's Day parade. Mm-hmm. I was like, this is not going to work out like that. But since May, I've been doing them pretty much every month. Sometimes I've done 2 in a month, and here we are.
I like how you focused on, one thing you said is creating an affordable all-age event. Because that's an issue. That's an issue for some of our kids that are not 21 years old. A lot of bars that have bands, they have to be of age, and it is so expensive to go to a concert.
Oh, yeah.
So I applaud you for that. That's super, super awesome. Why is it important for you to focus on the younger generation?
So I'm 31. Most people that are still playing in bands are around that age, if not up to 15 years older than me. And it's been kind of the same people playing in bands. So to highlight having this all ages thing going on, I'm not doing it at bars. The Uptown, they do sell alcohol, but they also have soda. They have water. Yep. There's no pressure for people to, come on out and have some drinks.
Right.
It's not something I like to highlight because even though I do drink, I'll have a couple beers with my friends. It's not about drinking and listening to music. It's about listening to the bands.
Yeah, it's about music.
And it's something that kids in this area don't really have the luxury of. And the whole $10 price point, I like paying the bands. I like making sure they get their their due. And I make sure everyone gets paid. I make sure the locals get it. You know, even if it's something like, oh, here's $50, I had to pay this touring band $200, but I don't make anything off it. I give a little bit to the venues that let me put them on. And it's a lot of community. Like there's people that ask if I need anything for them to do, like, and it's never something where I have something in mind where it's like, oh, you can do that, you can do this. It's like, show up the day of and I'll point at something and say, hey, go, you know, can you take care of that? Yeah. I have someone that runs the door. I have a sound guy. I make the flyers. I contact the bands. So it really is just kind of a bare bones thing. It's not the most advanced sound systems that you can hear, but if you're in a small space like that, the sound doesn't matter. What matters is you're there, you're banging your head, you're having a good time. Yeah. And the younger kids are the ones that are in the front row and their hair's getting all messy. And one of them even started a zine. He only has one issue out. He's never brought them to shows, but I told him, bring them to the toy drive. It was something between the last show and this one where he reached out and he was like, yo, I did this. It's like, that's really cool. Because I didn't have to tell him like, you should do that. He just did it.
So you've got your regulars, obviously, the people who are used to going to shows. For someone who's never been to a show, what can they expect? What's the atmosphere?
It's a pretty welcoming atmosphere. I've experienced cliquey stuff throughout the years where it's like, oh, well, we don't like this person for this reason. It's like, well, unless you're bringing a bad vibe into the space, you're welcome to come in. If you're just coming to cause some problems, you're not coming in. Like you're getting thrown out and you're not getting your money back. Or maybe you will. I don't know. I've never had to deal with that.
Well, that's,
just don't do it.
Yeah. But it's pretty simple. You come in, there's house music playing. I try to keep it as far away from metal and punk being played over the sound system as possible, just because I don't want to listen to it when I'm listening to metal bands. I go to metal shows and then afterwards I'll put on just like 89.5, the classical channel, the NPR affiliate. Right. But what you can expect is just like a good time, good people, good bands, good music. I figured I'd throw that one in there too. And, it's just it's an affordable thing. They don't go on very long. I think the longest the one's gone on is 3.5, maybe 4 hours. I try to get them done as quick as possible. I don't want to be standing around. I'm old.
You're talking to two old people.
Yeah, you're talking to people that are in bed by 10 o'clock every night.
What time does it start on the 14th?
Oh, gosh, I probably should have looked at this before I came in. I believe the doors are at 6.
Okay.
And the music starts at 6:30. I'm going to put an asterisk next to that because I generally start a little bit later than that, like 6:45. It just depends. I don't want the first band to play to fewer people. I'd rather wait a little bit, have people come in, just because these do end so quickly that it's like it's not really a burden to be like, oh, I'm going to stand around for 15, 20 more minutes.
Right. The bands must do this as passion projects, right? I mean, there's not a ton of money to be made right at $10 a head.
I mean, it's got to be hard, like balancing how do you keep it affordable while covering your costs.
I don't get paid.
Well, you don't get paid.
I don't get paid. At the Uptown, it's a nonprofit, so I make a donation to the Uptown because they're nice enough to let me do this. They've been letting me do it from the jump. So I give them over $100 every time.
Then they get the concessions, right?
Yeah, and they get whatever comes in through concessions. Bands get whatever comes in through the merch tables.
Okay.
If they have merch, some of them don't have merch yet. But I generally try to keep, locals get $100, which is way more than I ever got paid when I was a kid starting out playing music. Yeah. Like you don't get $100, but it's like you got to pay people.
Like, yeah.
Bands that come from out of the area, I try to be as close to $200 as possible. You came from a little further out. Maybe you're on tour. You're in the middle of a tour. We actually had 2 bands come out back in October. Fall 50 Feet. They're from the West Virginia area, kind of like Ohio, West Virginia border. It was the first day of their tour. And then there was a band from Florida called Bloom Dream. And it was the 18th day of their tour. So it's like they haven't slept in their own bed in close to a month. These other guys, they're going to be out for a month after this. Yeah. So might as well make it worth it for them. Like now they have some gas money at the very least, get them to the next 2-3 shows. It's mostly about budgeting, being in a band. And nowadays a lot more people are not more forgiving, but you're more likely to actually just get paid. If you're doing stuff like coming into the spaces like what I'm doing, where it's just some people just setting stuff up, just doing it because it's good for the community. I have money in my pocket at these things where it's like, if it doesn't do well, I will fund it for you. Like, I will make sure you get paid.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like that's pretty fair across the board, where if like we played to 3 people in a bowling alley on a Monday and they gave us $70, which they didn't have to. They gave us a place to sleep, the basement of the bowling alley. They gave us free games of bowling after the show. We got all the free canned water that they had and all the free Genesee that we wanted up until the place closed, got free pizzas.
Pretty sweet gig.
So it's like, even if they gave us nothing, it's like all this other stuff is like, it's helping save us money.
Sure.
But yeah, it's metal, punk, any kind of like underground alternative music, that kind of niche corner of it. You're not going to be a millionaire off of it.
Right.
And I don't think it's about that.
Sure.
Some people, I feel like they want to make money off their music, which more power to you, but you have to be a t-shirt salesman. You can't be a musician. You have to make music, but you have to have a lot of different t-shirts that people want to buy.
Right.
So growing up and living in Central New York, you grew up here. Has that influenced you to start this?
It wasn't so much growing up here that influenced the decision. It was more the absence of it. Because when I was, I must have been like 11 or 12, my sister brought me to a place called Aunt Diane's. It was out in Herkimer. It was a coffee shop. It was across from the old Pizza Boys.
Okay.
And then Pizza Boys ended up becoming a venue, the Inferno Lounge. So I had a lot of friends that booked stuff, and, there were always local bands playing. They played at the YMCA. I never got to go to those, but I hear that the YMCA doesn't really like the idea of shows because they got a wall busted up one time. That was before my time. But so what really influenced it was just, hey, when I was a young kid, there was stuff going on all the time. Almost every weekend you could find some kind of music related thing. Even mine are more consistent with the type of music that it is, where it is like a heavier style. But there was pop punk stuff, indie stuff, acoustic stuff. You could go to many coffee shops between Utica and even Dolgeville. There's a little coffee shop in Dolgeville that would host little stuff. And obviously you have those smaller towns, smaller populations, you have a smaller turnout. But the absence of it from about 2018 to 2023, not to discount the people that were doing stuff here and there, but there was nothing consistent. So it didn't just pop into my head like, oh, I should start doing this. My friend Tim, again, was very adamant. Like he used to own the Dev. You guys remember the Dev? He owned that, and he had shows all the time. Mine and Austin's old band played there a handful of times. And he was always really, really forgiving with payment, where it's just like, okay, so you guys aren't 21 yet, so here's some chips that you can use for like Shirley Temples. And, here's some cash. And it's like, you're 19 years old and you're like, we have money.
Yeah.
Well, when we were in college, we would go to bands every weekend. We were up in Clinton.
Garden Cafe.
Garden Cafe.
Like
Route you could always find a live.
Captain Trips on Genesee Street.
Right on Genesee Street. Like we used to go all the time to live
proving
bands.
Our age now. Yeah.
And now you're right. There's really not a huge amount of live bands that are performing consistently.
I got I'm picturing this small coffee shop in Dolgeville, and all of a sudden you guys go in with like a metal band. It's
a little bit bigger than this room that we're in.
Oh my God.
It's got to get kind of loud. Utica DIY Shows. What's the DIY? Is there a play on words there?
Do it yourself.
Okay, I didn't know if there was something beyond.
It's obvious.
I knew that part. I didn't know.
But Scott.
Utica DIY was taken, I'm sure, by some guy who's like building stuff in his backyard.
Oh my gosh.
But I mean, that's more of the naming is more of a testament of just like anyone can do it. Like I don't have to be the guy setting these things up, or like I have the means to do it. I have the free time.
And the connections and the community. And
I don't like to flex that, but yeah.
But yeah, you do.
She did it for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have a very bare bones sound system. I use it for some shows. Other times I'll ask Tim, hey, can you just be the sound guy? He has a little bit more of an advanced system, but it's never like stacks of speakers. It's like two outward speakers, maybe a sub. You get a vocal mic and maybe a mic on your kick drum, and doing it in the lobby of a theater is like, I mean, it's not a bar. And there is there's a reason that I'm not doing stuff at bars.
Yeah.
The whole all ages aspect. Bars don't want that.
No.
Right? I have contacted multiple bars where I'm like, oh, they have the space. They do serve food, but
they don't want that liability. They don't want the liability of underage. Yeah.
Especially mixing with alcohol, and you don't want kids taking stuff off the counter. But
exactly.
Yeah. So how do people connect with you? How do they
support it?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about like you in general. So not beyond just this event, Utica DIY, socially, website, newsletter. How do people know when the shows are, where they are?
So up until I actually made the Instagram for Utica DIY Shows, I just did stuff off my personal Facebook. I don't like driving people towards my personal Facebook because it is not just show stuff.
Sure.
I'm sharing stupid memes. I'm sharing songs that maybe people listen to and stuff about my band. But on Instagram, you can look up Utica DIY Shows, no spaces. I post the flyers as soon as I announce them. They get put up on there. I don't have a Facebook for it. I have a soft spot for Facebook. I'm not too keen on it as a promotional tool. Because
you like TikTok primarily.
No, he doesn't TikTok. He said it. You and him have something in common. Scott does not TikTok either.
That's where the kids are. So you got
to get on board with it. That's how you're going to get the younger generation there.
I can't particularly say that I dislike TikTok. I have the app on my phone because my sisters will send me TikToks and be like, oh, check this out. And
see, Scott can't open them. He has me do it through my phone.
So I got one because I found out, I used to be able to open these and now I can't. I have to get TikTok. And I don't want my sisters to call me names because I didn't open the things they sent me.
Yeah. Or not send you funny stuff.
So the answer is Instagram. You want to be at Instagram at Utica DIY Shows.
I started doing this thing where I have a little, it's like a sketchbook. It's that type of paper, but I just use it as a notebook. Not lined paper or anything. So I really like it. But I've started bringing that to shows and, saying like, oh, you don't like social media? Give me your email. I will send all of this to you. I will let you know whenever a show is.
Mm-hmm.
What is your email if people want to get on that email list?
If you want to be put on the email list, just hit me up at uticadiyshows@gmail.com. I'm pretty timely with sending stuff out. I just add everyone to a BCC list, so you don't really know who else I'm emailing. Sure. I'm not writing out 30.
Yeah,
right, of course.
When I first started doing that, people are like, oh, you're going to personalize all of them, right? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's ridiculous.
The first time I personalized every single one of them with the same information, but
certain things you don't make certain mistakes once, right?
Yeah.
So this Saturday, it's December 14th. It's at the Uptown Theatre around 6:30ish, right?
Yeah.
It's $10 at the door, and you're asking everyone to bring a toy.
It's $10 if you bring a toy.
Okay.
If you don't bring a toy, you have to give me $15.
Okay, so
Plan
15.
Bring a toy for the kids. It's Christmas. Bring a toy.
Bring $15 and bring 2 toys because it's that time of year. It's good opportunity to give, right?
Yeah. And did I mention who the charity is that I'm going through? Okay,
ICAN.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure.
Yes, you did.
So ICAN's going to distribute the toys. Everything will stay local in central New York. So it looks like a great event. So Jeff, I appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Love Living Local. As you know, we do not run ads. Our only mission is to shine a spotlight on amazing people doing amazing things here in our local community. If you'd like to support us with this mission, we have 3 ways you can help. You can share our content on social, subscribe or follow the show on your favorite podcast platform, and you can visit our lovelivinglocal315.com website to stay up to date with everything happening in Central New York.